We're here to idea everyone, to fire up your curiosity and connect you with the people and ideas that shape our world. Watch, listen, understand, connect, create. Let's move the human story forward together.
Hello and welcome to The Poetry of Science, a podcast which provides insight into new scientific research via the medium of poetry. I'm your host, Dr. Sam Illingworth, and each week I'll be introducing you to some of the latest scientific findings and sharing a selection of science-themed poetry. We could all do with a little bit more poetry in our lives. In this episode, I'll be exploring new research which has found that old and ancient trees help to develop a forest's resilience. In aged woods you lie, bodies bent with wind and rot and time, withered roots entwine the soil, labyrinths of memories that bind you to your past and future selves. Cracked and suppurated skin bear the scars of your survival as gnarled arthritic limbs weave hardy histories to share. Supple secrets, whispered willingly, until their boughs can sing no more. This poem is inspired by recent research published in Nature Plants, which has found that ancient trees are essential for forest survival. Old and ancient trees are those trees that are many times older than the average individual age of a forest. The importance of such trees in forested ecosystems has been previously shown to be extremely diverse, ranging from providing long-term habitats for endangered species to sequestering large amounts of carbon from the atmosphere. However, despite the essential role that these trees provide, there remains in general a poor understanding of tree age structure in forested ecosystems. In part, this is because the longevity of such trees means that they outlive even the most long-term scientific study, while there are also several difficulties in the actual methods that are used to perform the dating processes themselves. For example, among tropical tree species in seasonal climates, growth rings are not as tightly linked to annual cycles as they are in other regions, making such readings difficult to interpret. As such, the most reliable methods require complex, time-consuming studies that are rarely performed over an entire forest or population of trees. In this new study, researchers used a model based on observed mortality rates to obtain the age distribution for a large number of old and ancient trees in different forested ecosystems. These model results were then found to closely match other results that had been obtained from reliable observational studies. As well as helping to better determine the proportion of trees that reach large ages, for example, 1/4 of trees were found to reach ages that are 3 to 4 times greater than the median age. This research also helped to clarify how old and ancient trees help to sustain the entire population of a forest's ability to adapt to a rapidly changing environment. These trees have survived a large number of environmental changes over hundreds or thousands of years, and in turn this genetic resilience is passed on to the forest, thereby helping to make it more resilient. Given that old and ancient trees cannot be replaced through restoration or regeneration for many centuries, it is essential that they are protected to preserve their invaluable diversity and benefits to the forests that they inhabit. Now that you've heard the science, let me read the poem to you again. In aged woods you lie, bodies bent with wind and rot and time. Withered roots entwine the soil, labyrinths of memories that bind you to your past and future selves. Cracked and suppurated skin bear the scars of your survival as gnarled arthritic limbs weave hardy histories to share. Supple secrets, whispered willingly, until their boughs can sing no more. In this section of the podcast, I like to share a poem written by another poet on a topic related to the science that has been discussed so far. In this episode, I'll be reading Tree by Jane Hirshfield. Jane Hirshfield is an American poet, essayist and translator. Born in New York City in 1953, she received her bachelor's degree from Princeton University in the school's first graduating class to include women. In addition to her work as a translator and essayist, Hirshfield is the author of 9 collections of poetry, including Given Sugar, Given Salt, published in 2001, Come Thief, published in 2011, and Ledger, published in 2020. Her many awards include fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Guggenheim Foundation, and in 2019 Hirshfield was inducted into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Tree by Jane Hirshfield. It is foolish to let a young redwood grow next to a house. Even in this one lifetime you will have to choose. That great calm being, this clutter of soup pots and books. Already the first branch tips brush at the window. Softly, calmly, immensity taps at your life. Thank you for listening to the Poetry of Science.
Thank you very much for being with us for this episode of the ideaXme Show. ideaXme is a global platform. Our mission is to move the human story forward by sharing knowledge of the future. You can find us on all major audio networks at www.radioideaXme.com, on YouTube and Vimeo. Please subscribe.